Hello, everybody. What we're going to go over today is phishing, but we're going to do this a little differently. A couple of years ago, we released a security training video on phishing, and it was ended up being a very popular, one of our most popular training and cybersecurity training videos. But since that time, a lot of things have changed, and the biggest thing that's changed is artificial intelligence. And it's changed enough that it's actually affected the phishing attempts that are happening on our clients and on your users. So we thought this would be a really good time to redo that into a new training session that talks about the new threats of phishing that are all powered by artificial intelligence. So first thing I want to talk about is let's start talking about the why, right? The why. So what we're looking at now is that basically years ago, the bad guys focused a lot of their energy on the big companies, right? So they only had so many resources and it took so much time to do all the legwork and all the tacking. Let's go after the big guys that have the big money. Well, that's changed, and a lot of that's changed because of artificial intelligence is now doing a lot of that legwork for them. It's doing a lot of that research for them. It's doing a lot of that trial and error for them. So now they're able to broaden their base and go after more and more small businesses and attack more and more small businesses, which is then generating more revenue for them, which is now allowing them to put in more resources. So what we're seeing is a big increase on the rise of artificial intelligence related attacks. And that's obviously what we're going to talk about today. So what are we going to cover? Well, we're going to touch really briefly on what artificial intelligence is. There's a lot of different terms on it. So we're going to talk about that really briefly and why it can be used, right? Then we're going to talk about what phishing and using AI, the effect that it has on the industry, understanding the tactics, because if we understand them, then we know how to look, what to look for, detecting AI-driven attacks, then strengthening your cyber defense. What we're going to do is we're actually going to show you real life emails and phishing attempts that have come in, actual case scenarios that are going through and what to look for. What are the things to look for in those? Because now they're getting more and more precise. Then we're going to talk about mitigating the risk, and most importantly, what we're doing now, educating your team. Touching base really quickly on who we are. We're Braver Technology. We've been around for more than 30 years doing managed service provider in the IT space. We do all sorts of IT support, training support. We do website design, SEO design, but basically everything IT related to keep your business up and running. We focus a lot on keeping, you know, full-time help desk support, full-time managed, everything from the wall jack in. If it has to do with a computer, we're here to help you and help our clients. Big thing we want to talk about today, though, is training and keeping your team safe. One quick note, if you are watching this on YouTube, one huge thank you that you could give for us is like and subscribe, right? That simple little action that you do actually has a big impact on us. Number one, it tells us that we're doing the right thing, right? It tells us that we're focusing on the right area and doing the right thing. It also helps us promote these videos, which then helps us do even more of them. And so little thing that you could do that'll help us out a lot. Okay, so let's talk about AI in the hands of hackers, right? So first off, artificial intelligence is really a basis. Before it used to be algorithm based, right? Like it used to be that what you would do is essentially there'd be an algorithm that would hit and you'd hit this and then XYZ. It's a if then go to, right? AI changes all of that. AI takes a whole intuitive level to this, where now you actually have a conversation with the artificial intelligence. You ask it questions, it answers back. Who are the best dentists in my area? Oh, here's a list of best dentists. And instead of going, hey, can you give me a modified list of best dentists that have just orthodontists? You can actually say, oh, can you limit that to orthodontists? And it already knows. It's a conversation going back and forth. AI branches out, researches all of the internet, and then takes that data and then analyzes it and comes up with a summary. It's basically analyzing that for you. It's incredibly powerful and it's going to change and help improve all of us. But just like any other powerful tool, it can also be used for bad. And we're going to talk about that. Next, we could talk. So basically, what we're looking at the finances of it. This is what you can see is the total drastic increase of the cost to small businesses from cyber attacks since AI has come on board. Look at that drastic increase and look at the projections going forward. These are the costs per company. Now, if you're a small business and you took a $9 million hit, I think you'd notice it, right? So let's work to prevent that. What's some of the top ways to come in that they're coming into? Number one is phishing, which we're talking about today, right? There's other attacks that they go into. Some of our other training videos, we go into AI fueled cyber attacks. So we just did another one last quarter on that. Go up, watch it. It's up on our website. We're going to show you how to get there. Those attacks are also important. Phishing is the one we're going to focus on today. So let's go into that, right? What is it that AI does that makes it more powerful than in the past? One thing that you can do, you can take text written by CEO, CFO, HR, AP, all of the key people of an organization. You find a blog they wrote, you found a message they wrote, whatever it may be, a little bit of text. You feed that into AI and you say, hey, I want to draft an email that sounds like it came from this same text. This is the tone that I'm writing in. I want you to draft something that sounds like it came from that same tone of voice, and it will do it. It takes that small excerpt from that person and changes it to sound like it came from them. Then you tell AI, I want you to research the details of that company. And when you draft this text, I want you to put in details that are specific to this company. And AI will do that. So now it'll sound like it comes from that organization. Next thing, I want you to put in the details of the person I'm sending to. What's their favorite hobby? What's their kids' names? What's their pets' names? Where do they like to go on vacation? I want you to go research and I want you to put a little bit of that in the email so it sounds like it came specifically to that person. Next, I want you to do the same thing for the person sending. I want you to go research what they love to do on the weekends. I want you to know what is their favorite band? What's their favorite sports team? I want you to drop a little hint of that in the email as well. Then I want to make sure you make it sound like it's from a local dialect. Are they from the Northeast? Are they from the Northwest? Are they from the Southwest? I want you to put a little bit of that you all in it if they're from Texas, right? I want you to put a little bit of that local dialect in that. And then the local interests. What is it that they like to do? What is it that the locals like to do? If you're in New England, put in something about lobsters or clam chowder, right? Local sports teams, and the holidays. What about a unique holiday? In Massachusetts, they have a holiday called Patriots Day. That doesn't exist anywhere. If that was in that email, you're going to look and think that it came more specifically from that person. One of the big things that we used to tell you to look for is grammar issues. Well, guess what AI is great at? Fixing grammar issues, right? So you can gonna be able to fix that and also fix the spelling mistakes. That's part of the power that AI is adding to these phishing attacks, and it's doing it automatically, right? It's doing it without a big lift from the hackers. So we're going to talk a little bit about the key people that are going to be under attack here, right? We're going to go into actual examples, why these people are attacked and how they're being utilized. We're going to do that in a little bit. But the key people in the company that they're going to go after, they actually have a process that they're going to go after, right? They have a systematic process they go after. First, on the starting, they're going to do the research. They're going to have AI do the research on that person, right? Then they're going to draft that message, that body, right? Then they're going to look for a response from that person. And AI is going to respond back. It's a conversation back and forth. We're going to show you what that looks like. AI is conversing as if it's a person. Then the big hit. Then they put in the payload. Next thing they do is they drop the bomb on the network. Malware, encryption, you name it. Whatever they need to do in order to seize your network and get the information that they need in order to get paid. Next, they're going to socially engineer you. They're going to socially engineer your team as if they're talking to a real person. The conversations are going to go back and forth, and they're going to sound like you're talking to an actual live person. We have to be so diligent, right? What would be a great industry to start? Well, a great industry to start is that if you designed all of this and made it so it works, why not resell it? And that's what they're doing. They're reselling it. The bad guys are creating this infrastructure, they're creating this product, they're creating this great massive device, and then they're reselling it. So now there's even more people attacked. You don't even need to have a technical background in order to attack your targets anymore. You just pick your targets, you hire them, and they'll do it. You take their tools, they'll do it. It's much, much scarier than it ever has been before, right? Look at this. Quick search, all of a sudden, fake ads come up, right? These are fake ads. Now, you would think that an advertisement would be the safest thing to click on, but they're not. They're actually creating fake advertising links for people to click on. Millions of dollars going into this research for them to do this, but AI makes it so much easier. AI can also do something incredible with the actual websites themselves. You go to AI and say, I want to take this site and I want to copy it. AI can absolutely copy that. You don't need any technical background at all. It's going to take a legitimate site and make it illegitimate. So when you click on it, you think you are going to the actual site. Again, this used to be the things that we used to look for, like look for little icons off, look for this. That's all gone now, right? Now we have to be so much more meticulous. Look for the domain names that you're going to, right? Look, is the domain name right? You're going to have to get much more meticulous in what you're looking for when they send you to that wrong site, right? Look at the domain name. Does it look like it was designed correctly? Does it look like little things are skewed off, little images are off? Because that's still what we're looking for in AI, is that there's little things talking. And I'll tell you why that happens, because the contact information. This is what really throws the website off, right? So you tell AI, hey, I want a copy of this website into this one. But guess what you don't want in there? You don't want the contact information for the real company in there, right? So what you do is you change that contact information to be yours. So you're looking to see, does that contact information make sense? Is that area code for that phone number legitimate for where that company says it is? Probably not, right? And when they do those changes, that's when they're making the website look a little bit different, right? Obviously, never pay by transfer bank or anything like that to any of these companies that don't exist. Another one that isn't in this particular bullet list, but I'll give it to you if you're a little more advanced. When you see the domain, right? So you can see here's a domain, Intex Corp versus intexcs.com, right? So that could be the same. A lot of times what we do is we'll take that domain name and we will plug it into a Whois database and see when it was registered. And if that domain name has only been registered for about 30 days, then we know that that domain name is not valid. That is a fake domain name. But man, they're getting so good. They're getting so, so good. Look at the results from them. Cryptocurrency. We've talked about this in many of our seminars before. This is how the bad guys get paid, right? This is how they get paid. And look at the value that's having on cryptocurrency, right? If you are looking at any of the recent events that are going on, any of the terrorist events going on, just Google them. Go into CNN. You'll see cryptocurrency is what is behind the funding of all the terrorist organizations. Don't take my word for it. Here's the Department of Justice website, right? What they try and do, the Department of Justice and all the other governments, right, try and shut down those areas of cryptocurrency. They try and shut down those accounts, but they're not successful, right? The bad guys can always keep one step ahead because you just shut one down, I'll open up another one, right? They have millions of them. It's so difficult for the government to trace this cryptocurrency. That's the basis of cryptocurrency, is that it's got all this dynamic ability, but it's also got this evil intent, right? So let's see what the process is, right? What I love on this slide, unfortunately, as somebody who loves processes and procedures, is really incredible, but this is an actual process of the bad guys, right? They are a billion-dollar organization. They have their processes and procedures, right? First thing they do is they gather the information, right? They identify their targets. Then they use AI to start socially manipulating their targets. How can we get this person to trigger? What is the event that would make them do something that we want them to do? Then they start getting in and doing the bad work, right? Then they hack in, start doing their malicious activities. First thing I'll tell you they're going to go after is your backups, right? The first thing they're going to do is try and get rid of your backups because you're not going to see it, and obviously they want to get rid of your escape route as much as possible. Then they launch, right? Then you start to see their activities, and then they call you for the ransom, right? It's a step-by-step process that they go through. All right. Phishing is basically a quick general summary of what phishing is. Phishing is basically somebody sending you a message that is tailored for you to get you to click on it for an erroneous reason, right? Quick summary, right? But what is really scary now that AI is out is that the emails used to look much easier to detect, right? But now those emails are getting more and more complex. AI is allowing the bad guys to make those emails look more complex, which makes them look more real, right? Which also makes them look more enticing for the bad guys to go at, for you to go after, right? They're able to use this and they're able to do it. So they're doing it on a mass scale, but it's individualized for the target. Again, that's the scary part. In the test results by TrueList, this is the percentage of breaches that happen. Now, these numbers may look deceivingly small to you, right? 20%, 12%, 4%. But let me tell you this. In order for you to get breached, you only take one. It only takes one of your teammates to click or do something wrong and you're breached. So that's why even small percentages are really scary, right? Let's go through some real life examples and let's get your staff trained and up to speed. This is something that's available on our website right now that you can download. These are some key things to look at on an email. This is a great onboarding document for your team. As a matter of fact, this video is going to be posted online. This video is a great onboarding training for your team. Use it. It's free. We put it up there. We want everybody to be safe. These are the top subjects right now that are currently getting the most clicks that are being used by the bad guys. I'm going to leave this up on the screen for a little bit so you can take a look at it. But these are the #1 subject lines that are effective in tricking your organization. All right, let's look at some real life emails now, right? So this one comes in. Why would I start with this one actually, right? So this one looks pretty mundane. There's nothing in here, no payload, nothing to click on. This is actually a very interesting one, right? Because there's nothing inherently dangerous about this email itself, but it's a very telling email. Why would somebody send an email to me that says, hey, this is a test email from a burner account? Well, what are they doing? They're scrubbing their list. Number one, they're scrubbing their list. If they don't get a bounce back, they know that this is a valid email. They now know that this email that they just sent to me made it to my inbox. They know that that works. They're going to tag that and move it on, just like your marketing department would. Same thing they're doing. But guess the second thing, and this is the scarier part that this has. Let's say they send this email, and let's say it lands in one of your users' inboxes, and your user has an out of office set up. And that out of office says, hey, I'm sorry you tried to reach me. I'm going to be away for 2 weeks. I'm going to be enjoying myself in Tahiti. Well, guess what the bad guys are going to do? I have 2 weeks to penetrate this account and emulate this person. If this person is your AR person, AP person, HR person, you name it, CEO, they're going to take this time and say, they're not checking their email account. Perfect. I'm going to go pretend I'm them and I'm going to go start attacking as them. All of that from this one simple email. Another popular one that we're seeing right now is DocuSign documents. Not DocuSign in particular. Obviously, it's a very popular one, but document signing emails coming in because there's so many of them right now. Everything is electronically signed. People are so used to seeing them come in. That's the #1 thing. You've got to look to where this is coming from. Are you expecting a DocuSign? Never use the QR code unless you know exactly where that QR code is from. Another one we're seeing on the rise right now is the attachment, right? This email went out to my team asking them to send a wire transfer on my behalf. This is where they really failed because I hope this email finds you well is never the way that I would draft an email. And so that was the first clue to the person that received this. But this went to one of our team members looking like it was from me, right? How else would they know? Well, I'm going to show you that in a couple slides, but let's go into this one here. This is Microsoft. This is a Microsoft two-factor authentication. We all know that Microsoft is cracking down on 2FA, making it more and more robust. Well, bad guys are genius, right? They're like, hey, Microsoft's sending out a lot more 2FA emails. How can we use that to advantage? You know what we could do? We could send out fake 2FA emails. And that's what they do. They send out fake 2FA document emails out to your team members. This is one that came to me from somebody trying to emulate somebody on our team. And this is a very popular one. We're going to show you another example of this one a little bit later on. This is very, very popular. It's saying, okay, hey, listen, I would like to change where you send my direct deposit for my pay stubs. Obviously, I got this one in. I contacted the employee on a known communication line, their cell phone, right? I talked to them in person. I said, hey, I don't think you sent me this, but I want to make sure that you didn't send it. Of course they didn't, right? Contact the sender on a known line. Do not email them. Certainly do not reply back to this email because it's not a valid email, right? But contact them on a channel that you know and try and recognize their voice. We actually go into this. It has to be a number you know because guess what? AI can actually emulate voices with just 3 seconds of code. So it has to be a number that you also know, some way that you know to get in touch with them. All right, next, look at the from address, right? Number one step. Step number one, look at the from address. Does that from address look legitimate to you, right? That's what you have to ask yourself. Is this from address something that looks like a domain name that is actually legitimate? It's going to be a recurring theme on everything you see, right? We're going to go a little bit more detail into this well in a second, right? Look at this from address, right? This is where we're going to go a little bit trickier. It actually says Braver Technology IT Department, but then look at the domain name next to it, right? So don't look at the name, look at the domain name. Is that the domain name of the person who's actually sending it? The other thing to look at is the time. When was this email sent? Does this time make sense for somebody to send an email to you? If this was a live person that sent it, an employee or whatever it may be, a teammate, if they sent that email at 2 a.m., is that a normal time that they would send that email? If it's not, question it. Even if everything else looks fine, question it, right? Look at the sender list. Here's a fake email from PayPal, but look at who it's sent to. Look at all the two people in this field, right? PayPal is not going to mass send an email to a whole bunch of people in the to field. That doesn't make sense. This is a mistake that a poor system would make, and you can catch it, right? I'm going to show you a legit PayPal email only because I want you to see how closely they resemble the fake one. This is the real one. Go back 2 slides. This is the fake one. Look at how similar those look, right? So you have to be diligent, right? I'm going to show you another real email versus a fake one in a second, right? Okay. Next, look at the hyperlink, right? This hyperlink is a crazy hyperlink. This is actually just a lazy phishing attempt, right? Like they didn't even make it to look at click on. This is a key for you not to click on something that looks like that, no matter how tempting it may be in the body of the email, right? If that hyperlink looks like this, don't click on it, right? Okay, but what do we do in this case, right? Everything looks fine on this email. This looks like a legit email. This is not. This is a fake email, right? Look at those hyperlinks. That hyperlink at the top looks very legit. What I want you to do in this case is I want you to hover your mouse over the hyperlink and look at what comes up, right? If that domain name on there does not say Costco.com, then you have a bad email. You should not be clicking on it. This one goes another step, right? They actually went through multiple. They went through all of the links on this email. They went through every single link and made a malicious one, all the way down to the footer. Here is a second clue to look at, right? Look at on the bottom. They have both unsubscribe and click here to remove from email. No self-respecting marketing person would give you more than one way to opt out of an email message, right? This one gave you two. That's a red flag. If you hover over those links, you're going to see that it comes up malicious. What does a legitimate link look like? Let's look at this email, right? This is a legitimate email from Chase. When we hover over that link, look at how it says chase.com, right? Chase.com, and then there's a forward slash. This is a key thing to look for, right? If it said chase.com.xyz.xxx.com, that's a bad thing, right? What you're looking for is the chase.com to be the end of that domain name. That tells you that this is a legitimate link that if you need to, is okay to click on. If it were me and I received this, I actually still would not click on this particular email. I would literally just go to chase.com and type it in a browser myself. But at least you know what to look for here. All right, next one to look at is the subject lines, right? Look at the clickbait subject line, password reset, right? That's a very popular subject line to get on. They're trying to get you with just being basic. So they're not always trying to be overly clever. Sometimes the most successful phishing attempts are from the easiest emails. They're from the simplest emails, like this one, right? Check your voicemail message. Many people receive voicemail message via email now, right? It's a new way, it's the way VoIP systems work. Well, the bad guys know that. So what do? They put in fake attachments to make it sound like you have a voicemail message in your system, right? Look at the from address. Is that your voicemail? Is that your phone system? Probably not. Sadly, we've had a client click on one of these messages. They don't even have the ability to receive voicemail in an email. God bless their little soul, right? All right, same thing, very similar, not a voicemail message, but another email, right? So what they're doing in here is they're putting an email as an attachment to an email. People do this, right? You've seen that happen. But what they're doing is that this is an easy way to get you to click on the bad email, right? You're going in, you have the fear of missing out on something important, so you go and click on that second email. You just launched into the bad email with the bad payload, right? So don't do it unless you recognize it. Look at the from address here. It's obviously a big warning sign, right? So the last thing we'll talk about is one thing that you should have set up in your system if you don't already is some kind of flag that comes on emails that come from the outside, all right? I would also suggest to ask your managed service provider, IT department, whatever, change these up periodically, right? Because your users are going to get used to seeing the same one and they're going to disregard it. Have them change it. Have them change the color of it. Change whatever. Have them do it on a regular basis, once every 6 months, every year, whatever, just so it gets their attention, right? So that when they're trying to emulate you or your team, that it shows up. The other thing that we've seen more of is text messages. Why would you care about a bogus text message? Well, there's a couple things. One, think about all the valuable data that you have on your phone, right? Your phone has a lot of information, contact information, possibly passwords, history in the browsers, all that stuff that can be used against you, right? So that's number one. Number two, what's going to happen is they're going to get you to click on this. It's going to come up and say, hey, warning, you need to call this number to make sure that your phone is clean. You call the number, they go through, it's like, oh, yeah. Hey, good news, your phone is all set. Now let's go over to your computer. We're going to load some software on there to make sure that's clean too, right? And now they're in your computer, right? They're in your user's computer. Let's go into some social engineering examples, right? So these are actual back and forth. This is where you're talking back and forth with possibly an AI that looks like it's a real person. So it's a conversation start. This is probably one of the ones that happens the most often, weirdly enough. This is the famous, hey, I need you to go out and get me some gift cards. I guarantee you, every time we do this seminar, there's always one or two people in the audience that said, we received that one and we almost had somebody fall for it, or we did have somebody fall for it. Happens all the time, right? This is AI talking back and forth in a conversation looking. So if you have somebody on your team, tell them if they get a request from somebody on your team looking for gift cards, it's bogus and it's false. Stop, right? Next one that we see a lot of is the HR, right? Especially if the person is on vacation, right? So this is where I go back to that out of office one that I told you about. So let's say somebody emails you, they get your out of office. What they do is they either use AI to find out who your HR person is, or they just call the company and ask who your HR person is. Next thing they do is they send a fake email asking that HR person to change where their direct deposit goes. HR person replies back saying, oh, sure, yeah, just send a voided check. Guess what? That person's going to go right down that rabbit hole. They're going to send all the information that they need to get that changed. The person on vacation isn't going to know when they get back from vacation. They're not going to know until a paycheck or two later that this happened. It's a very successful presentation. All right, last example that I'm going to go through is the fake invoices, right? So this one's really scary, and we've seen this a lot more lately, where basically you use AI to go out and say, okay, I want on this client, on this company, I want to get a list of all of their happy clients. Great. All right, I want a list of all their vendors. Great. All right, now what you can do, you can send a fake invoice to, or they can send a fake invoice to you saying, hey, listen, this job that we're working on to you, it's almost done. Here's where to wire transfer this money, right? Let's take it a step further because unfortunately this has happened a few times, right? So what could happen is basically, let's say your system's fine. You haven't been breached at all, right? But your upstream vendor, they have been breached, right? And then they've been breached. Somebody goes into their account, says, oh, there's this project going on. I'm going to send this invoice to you, to your team, saying, hey, we're finishing up on this project. Can you pay this invoice? By the way, here's our new wiring instructions. Your team goes, sends that invoice because everything looks legitimate. What they don't realize is that email didn't come from your client. It may even come from your client's account. They may have been hacked, but your team sends that payment off to the wrong spot. It does not get detected until 90 days later at best, because what happens? They're not receiving payment from you. They're not going to call you up on the 30-day mark and say, hey, deadbeat, you didn't pay us. No, it takes them a while to catch up and call you. Then by the time they say, hey, listen, yeah, we haven't received a payment from you in 90 days, your team goes back and says, no, we sent a payment to you 3 times for the last 30 days. They were sending it to the wrong spot, right? So what's happening is even though your team was not breached in any way, you are now sending payment to the wrong location. Key thing to take away from this, if you have a request from any vendor to change where the payment process goes to, stop, contact them on a known line that you know that they're talking to. Is this legitimate? Is this request legitimate? Let's go through some last stats, right? Who are the biggest targets? Well, the biggest targets are people like me, CEOs, because we're just dumb and we'll fall for anything, right? But they're going to go after your key people in the organization. These are the people that you need to make sure see this training program, right? These are the people that you need to make sure are aware of what could happen and what to look out for. What can you do, right? Train your employees. This video, other videos on our website, we're going to show you how to get to those in a second. All free, by the way, no charge. We're not trying to sell you anything here. We're trying to educate, right? Phishing simulations. There are software programs out there. We have majority of our clients on them where they do phishing simulations to your team. This is really important because what it does, it then regurgitates back to you reports, but it gets your team used to looking for the threats, right? It takes the most recent threats, get your team used to them. It's a very cost-effective tool. It could literally save you millions of dollars, right? Enforce security policies. Have regular meetings with your team on what your security policies are and enforce them. I'm going to show you in a second how you can get some security policies from us. Use multi-factor authentication everywhere, anywhere, anytime. Use multi-factor authentication everywhere you can. If you have a critical application that does not have multi-factor authentication, reach out to that vendor and ask them why, right? Have a layered security approach. One of the things that we do for all of our clients, we have a specialized endpoint detection response system, but we also put on top of it 24/7 security operations center. These are live people that are watching the actual alerts of the threats coming in. This is extremely important because what do the bad guys do? They don't always attack at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They typically try and do it at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3:30 a.m. Whenever you're not there, that's when they try and launch their payload because they want to do the most damage before they get caught. Having 24/7 security operations stops that damage right away. This is really important. All right, you really need to have this. Like I said, all of our clients automatically have it, right? Security scorecards. We give our clients regular security scorecards on the health status of their network. Many of these security items are free. Many of them. It's really important for you to stay diligent on what you do. These are those forms that we make available, right? If you do not have security policies in place, we've written up some templates that you can utilize. Reach out to our team, right? We have a dedicated cybersecurity division. This is an entire separate division that does high-level cybersecurity. Think of it this way, right? What we do is we are the general practitioner, right? We keep you healthy, keep your network healthy, keep everything going. These guys are the heart surgeons, right? These guys are specialized just on high-level security. They're going to do audits, assessments, penetration tests, managed security services, all of the things that a full compliance would need. If you're going for NIST, CMMC, everything, that's where these guys come in, right? Full cybersecurity division. What did we talk about, right? So what did we cover? We covered what AI is, right? We covered that, how phishing in AI is used to attack you, understanding the tactics of AI and the bad guys, detecting AI-driven attacks, strengthening the cybersecurity defense. Most important, mitigating the risk and educating your team. That's what we covered in this today. We have weekly cybersecurity tips. Sign your team up for them. We constantly send out updates. Also, on our website, we have live training videos, right? These training videos are all available on our website for free. We want you and your team to watch them, right? We want you to use these as part of your onboarding program. We do not charge anything for these. We want them to be part of a stronger security across the board. That is everything that I have to cover today. I hope this was useful. I hope it was worthwhile. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe.